And we're going to be featuring in this particular set on cognates and looking how the VKVs can help us with cognates. Many cognates, many English terms just become Spanish by adding something at the end or changing a suffix. Let me show you how that works. If we look at constant, we see it in English, but we flip this over and add the E, and this is the word in Spanish. The same thing for factor. Look at this and how it works. We see the word factor, but we turn this and we see it in Spanish. So this was, of course, more than one word, but you see how the first part of the word remained the same. So it was very close and easy for the students to identify. We see the term liquid for science and flip it over, and it just adds an O. There are quite a few words that add O's. Look at this one, acid. And we flip this over, and you see adding an O to this one, also changed it to Spanish. But if I fold this over, I can even add the accent mark. So it's just some little things like this to get it into the student's head. So many of the terms that they're going to be learning in science, that they will understand them, or they'll be able to recognize them because it's so close, the Spanish and the English for the cognates. Now, these are the ones that I love. These are so much fun. Watch what happens. These were made using, this one was made using a triple, so you see the different sections. But watch this, equilateral triangle in English, isosceles triangle in English, and scalene triangle in English. But many times in Spanish, not all the time, but many times you will find that instead of the adjective being first, the adjective is last. So look what happens on these. If I flip them over, you will see that because now triangle is first, now I have it in the Spanish on the opposite side. So you can see for isosceles, for scalene, and for equilateral. So one side is the English and the other side is the Spanish. Now as we look at that, this is what it looks like. This is another example for cube. You open this up and see it cubed, and the Spanish is here, and cube root, and the Spanish is here. So this is just another variation, another way that you can do it, especially if it can't be flipped so that it works. So if you don't have an adjective that you can reverse, this is another way that you can do it. Let me show you this one. I love this one. This one is for English. We see evaporation, precipitation, condensation, and you see that this is made out of one that I call a red cross. So we folded the VKV, the triple, into thirds, cut out the corners, and that's how we formed the basic fold. But watch what happens with this. If I just fold this over, instead of having T-I-O-N, it's C-I-O-N for the Spanish. And look at the words that we have formed. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and transpiration. So as you go through your list, and most of these, the cognates, you're going to be able to find them in the back of your textbook, in the glossary. So you're going to see the English and you'll see the Spanish. I recommend going there first to get your ideas for the cognates that you want to make using VKVs. Remember, when there's a single word and it's very, very close to English and just something's added at the end or something's added at the beginning, you'd probably want to use a single strip. If there's something where, like on this one with the multiplicative identity and then the inverse, and you flip it to go the other way, then that was a 2. You look in the glossary and you see 2 different terms that begin with the same word. And then those terms would be very good terms to cluster on one like this. And then if there are 3 terms or 4 terms, you saw me using the T for the VKV, and you saw me using the cross for the VKV. So there's so many different ways, but begin simple. Begin with just the 1s or the 2s. Start with that, and then have the students begin to design their own ways to show how vocabulary can move and how one way it could be English and the other way it could be Spanish.